We're learning a chassidic discourse by the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Rebbe of Lubavitch. This discourse is built upon a verse that you should know and put to your heart, Parshas Vayischanan, that God is the Lord. And we learned a little bit already about what does it mean, the name of Hashem God and the name of Hashem the Lord, so to speak. When you start learning a little bit deeper, already the names God, Lord, all-powerful, almighty, like they fall short. You need more details. So right now we're learning about two names of God. One of the names of God is the name of four letters, Yud, Kei, Vav, Kei. This represents infinity. Hoya, Hoy, Ve'iyeh. He was, he is, he will be. And we learned a little bit of mystical meanings of this. It means the source of what we call light. And then, I'll explain in a second what's light. And then we learn about the name Elohim. The name Elohim, when you add up the letters, each letter in Hebrew corresponds to a number. When you add up the numbers of, and the letters of the name Elohim, you got 86, which is Hateva, the nature. Okay, so that conceals, so to speak, the infinity of God. What's nature? What's the definition of nature according to Chassidic thought? It means the concealment of the all-powerful God, so to speak. That he himself conceals himself in order to give us room to exist. And this is usually called, in the Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, whatever, it's called kelim. It's called vessels. Important to note, as I mentioned before also, there are no lights, no vessels, no nothing over there. It's just names that we human use, to try to understand a little bit of something that is completely abstract and completely beyond understanding. But again, it's just examples of the, so to speak, practical life, lights and vessels, to try to understand how God creates the world. That's name Havaya, what we call Havaya, which is four letters of, it's just a name that we use to reference this name, and the name Elohim. And the Rebbe explained basically the interaction between these two names according to an example of the soul. There's a body and there's a soul. And the body conceals the soul, but at the same time, really exactly at the same time, the body reveals the soul. It's a tool for the soul to affect the world. Otherwise, it would be impossible. Soul is something abstract, the body is something physical, and God puts them together. It's mafli lasses. He does wonders, and he puts spiritual and physical things together. But the body, again, becomes like a thing, a vessel, a kli, a vessel to reveal and express the soul. We are in page Mem Zayin 47, towards the end. The line starts Hadavar. It's like fourth line from the bottom. Let's move on. The same thing that we explained before, this concealment, revelation, combination, etc. Same thing happens in a teacher and a student. Mashpia literally means somebody that gives, and mekabel is somebody that receives. It's necessary for the teacher, so to speak, to contract and to put and conceal and put a limit to his own intellect. He needs to do this. He has to do this in order for it to be received by the receptor. If the teacher is going to reveal the essence of the ideas of the intellect just as it is by himself in his own mind, the receptor wouldn't be able to receive it. It's too deep. And he has to conceal the essence of his own intellect. And reveal only what is in the same level of the student to receive. It's like, the truth is, it's a classic example, but the same thing can be applied in, for instance, suppose medicine. In medicine also, if a person is learning, I'm not a doctor, I don't know anything about medicine, but general ideas everybody knows. So if a doctor has to learn about muscles, and he has to teach the students about muscles, and muscles move, and there's the amount of muscles in the body, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all the muscles. and he's explaining how the muscles are tied to the bones, and then the muscles move the body, etc., he can't start talking about cells, and then start talking about the different parts of a cell, and then start talking about the what do you call it, DNA, and the DNA, and the DNA, and this amino acids of the DNA. Wow, it's too much. Yeah, because actually each cell has DNA, and the muscles are formed of cells, millions of cells. Each muscle. Wait a second, stop. We're learning about muscles. I know they have cells, and I know they have DNA, and it's very deep. I don't care right now. Just teach me about muscles. I need to know how the muscles work, etc., etc. Same thing is going on over here. If the teacher is going to teach all the deepness of his knowledge, the student just can't get it. It's too much. So he has to conceal the ideas, conceal the whole thing of DNA and cells. I don't care right now. Just teach me about muscles. This is exactly what he's saying right now. You have to put a limit to the intellect. It can't expand more than necessary. In order for the student to actually receive and understand. Put a limit into it. Because if the intellect starts like expanding itself more than necessary, it's not going to be in the same level of the capacity, so to speak, of the receiver. It's going to be impossible. He doesn't understand. Nimtza comes out. This is what the Rebbe actually wanted to prove. There's a force within the soul, it's a power within the soul that can put a limit into intellect. Up to here, I'm going to explain. I'm going to talk about muscles. I'm not going to talk about DNA. You could, and actually you could talk about the parts of DNA and what compose the parts of DNA. Oive, it's impossible. It's infinite. No, stop. Put a limit into it. Hine, now, koyach hagbala hanal. This is the beautiful part about this mimer. Koyach hagbala hanal hu gam ken mikoyach hamaskil atzmoi. This power of limit is part, actually, comes from the capacity of thinking. It's part of the thinking process. It's not something else. It's part of the thinking process. Shemisham nimshach gilu yaseichel lehaskil bechol davar muskal. From there, from the power of the soul of thinking power, let's call it like a general thing, the power of thinking, of developing ideas, etc., of having ideas, developing, etc., this power produces, it gets projected from there, any intellect, any idea about anything that you can think. Just as from there gets projected any idea, from there also gets projected the power of limiting any idea. I want to talk about this and not something else. We're not talking about soccer. But today the rabbi just started talking about soccer. I don't know, who cares? Okay, you have to stop. We're not talking about this, we're going to talk about that. These two things, these two ideas of revealing, giving, telling, developing ideas, etc., and on the other hand, limiting, shut up, don't talk about that. Ideas, these two things are called chesed and gevura, kindness and severity within the power of thought, which has nothing to do with the classic idea of kindness. I want to be kind, I give tzedakah. No. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an idea, concept, and that concept needs also chesed and gevura, has also chesed and gevura, kindness and severity. What does that mean? From the power of kindness, quote unquote. That's the name it has. It's not really related to kindness. It's just the name. From the idea of kindness, you get the power of revelation. In this sense, kindness would be, I'm going to explain. Whatever thing we're talking about, I'll explain. Blah, 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 blah. And you explain. That's kindness. Because the other person has the eyes like open. Whoop, I didn't get it. So you explain. I'm going to be kind and I'll explain. You could be not kind and don't explain. It's your problem. But you're going to be kind and you will explain. And from severity within the intellect itself, there you get the power of limiting. Not to not explain. No, that's not the point. To put a limit into it. I'm going to talk about muscles and bones, and I'm not going to talk about DNA. Put a limit to it. Stop. Up to here. etc. The example that I just gave you, that the Rebbe brought like 4 examples, I don't remember exactly, 3 examples I think, we're going to understand up, above, in the 2 names of Havaya Elokim. These 2 names, as we explained before, are the power of revelation and the power of limitation. Both things get projected from the infinite light, the essence of God itself. Just as the power of revelation, which is represented by this name of 4 letters, etc., that we call Havaya, gets projected from the essence of the infinite light. Let's jump the parenthesis and then we'll come back. The same thing happens with the power of limitation and contraction, which is the name represented by this name Elokim. It's also projected from the essence of the infinite light. Let's go back to the parenthesis. Now, we just said that revelation comes from the name Havaya. It's represented by the name Havaya. Because the light, it's tied, so to speak, glued, to the luminary. And the light is also similar to the luminary canal, as we explained like a few classes ago. So the point is that these 2 things get projected from the essence of God. Vehainu, which means the second one, the power of limitation. The God has, which comes right now, it's a classic idea. God, has the power in limitation. What does that mean? This book, Avodas HaKodesh, is a famous book which didn't make it, basically. Why not? It's written by Rav Meir ibn Gabbai, the great Kabbalist. He lived just a few years before the Arizal. And he wrote a huge book, Givaldik, amazing book. But then came the Arizal and it was more amazing. So that's it. But there are certain ideas in the Avodas HaKodesh that are brought down in Hasidus. This is the most famous idea of the Avodas HaKodesh, always brought down in his name. He came up with this. Not that he came up with the idea, don't make a mistake. He came up with expressing this idea so clear and so powerful. What's the idea? He writes like this. Oiren Soif, the infinite light, whatever, God, who shleimusa de koila. It's the plenty of everything. It's all powerful. What does that mean? Just as God has the power of infinity, it at the same time has the power of limitation. Both things at the same time. This is part of the Avodas HaKodesh. If you're going to tell me that God has the power in the infinite, and he does not have power in infinity, in limited things, you're actually taking out from his completeness. You can't. Rather, just as God has the power of infinity, at the same time has the power of limitation. Before moving on, this is a very simple explanation, so simple. There's a phrase, I think they bring it in the name of Russell and one of philosopher, whatever, Bertrand Russell, something like that. Can God create a stone that he cannot lift? Like a famous, stupid thing, but it's famous. So if you're going to tell me he cannot create, he's not God. And if you're going to tell me he cannot lift it, so he's not God. So you're trapped, so to speak, in this stupid idea. And the Jewish answer, which is so simple, I'll tell you the answer, very simple. God can create a stone. He cannot lift and lift it. What? Yeah. You think God is a man. That's the problem. And men have limitations. So there are certain things, of course, I cannot lift. I'm a simple human being, whatever. I can't lift and my back hurts, so I can't lift not even like normal things. So can God create a stone that he cannot lift? The answer is yes, and then lift it. Why? Because of this particular thing that he's saying, the avodas hakodesh over here. He has power in infinity, and at the same time, he has power in limitation. Otherwise, he wouldn't be God. That's the problem. You're not defining God properly. You think he's a human being. Okay. V'zeu inyan, let's move on. Zeu inyan Shem Elokim. That's the whole thing, the whole idea of the name Elokim. Shehu bechinas koyach hagvul sheberin sevatzmus mahus. It represents, it's not something separated from God. Chas v'shalom, God forbid. It represents the power of limitation within the infinity and the essence of God. Ve'im ken, being so, be'achar deshem Elokim u'bechinas atzmus arin soif mamesh, kemo shem Havaye, since this name, Elokim, it's really the essence of God. Literally, just like Shem Havaye, this other name of 4 letters, in Ken Movan. Now we can understand. How this name Elokim is not really a concealment on the name Havaye. Of course, parentheses, the rest of the Maimer, which is like quite a few pages, is going to explain this even better, longer. But the Rebbe is like showing us what's the first explanation, general explanation. So there's no concealment over here. Why is no concealment? Shem Elokim means concealment. Shem Havaye means revelation. So concealment conceals over revelation. And we explained before about letters of the soul, etc. The letters conceal and reveal, but they conceal. So why are you saying that Shem Elokim doesn't conceal? Very simple. Because the essence cannot conceal in its own. You can't conceal yourself. Like put your hand in your face, say, I'm not here. You can play with a baby like that. But you can't, like in an important meeting, in front of I don't know how many people, and you just put your hands, I'm not here. You're such a fool. A person can't conceal on himself. The Rebbe says, it's impossible for a person to conceal himself with his hand, whatever. And the Rebbe brings, just to make it like stronger, a proof from Shulchan Aruch, from the Code of Jewish Law. Just as it says over there in Shulchan Aruch, in the Code of Jewish Law, that means this is law, this is really the Torah's idea. It's not just a rational thing. Yeah, the rabbi put his hand in his face and he's not there. No. It's like a law. It's like the existence and the definition of the world. Because the Torah says, this is the law. What does the Torah say about this thing of covering? Le'inyan kisui harosh, regarding covering your head, it's useless that you cover yourself with your hand in your head. However, within parentheses, if your friend puts his hand on top of you, that's covering actually. Yeah, that's good. Because it's not you. You can't cover yourself. But somebody else can cover you. Why? The reason for this is because the essence cannot conceal the essence, etc. That's a clear thing. The same thing is going to be understood above with this name Elokim. The Shem Elokim is also this name of God, this expression of God that usually means concealment, also does not conceal the other name of God, Havaya, which means usually revelation. Because the essence cannot conceal its own essence. Now we're going to understand this phrase of the Zohar that the Rebbe brought at the beginning of the discourse. The Zohar says, these two names are one thing. Wait a second, it's two names, it's not one thing? Yeah, they are one thing. The Shneim em atzmus ein soif. Both are the essence of God. Ve'einam afachim klal. They are not two opposite things. Me'achar de Hashem Elokim, im sheu koyach hatzimtzum, because this name Elokim, even though it is the power of concealment, mikol makom eina metzamtzum malim klal al Shem Havaya. However, it does not conceal at all in the name of God, Havaya, chulei, etc. There's no real concealment. He's going to bring, of course, more explanation, but this is like the first paragraph. Usually, in most of the discourses of the Rebbe Rashab, there are no paragraphs, most of them. Sometimes one paragraph. So in this particular case, we have one paragraph. The Rebbe brought, he brought to us a problem, quote unquote. The Torah says, Havaya hu Elokim, in Parshas Vayischanan. These two names, one is the other, the God is the Lord, whatever. And then he brought the Zohar, Havaya Elokim kul echad, everything is the same thing. Yeah, but it's not the same thing. Okay, so the Rebbe explained, it is the same thing. Because both come from the essence, and the essence does not cover itself. Point. In order to understand these things that we mentioned before. Apparently, still, something is not easily understood. You're just going rounds and rounds. But at the end of the day, the whole thing of this Shem Elokim, of this name Elokim, it's to conceal. It represents concealment. How are you going to tell me that it doesn't conceal? You just made a whole thing. Yeah, really, essence does not conceal as essence. Yeah. What's Shem Elokim? Concealment. That's it. It's concealment. Why do you bring me like weird explanations? It's concealment. How can you tell me it doesn't conceal? How can it be both things at the same time? It conceals, but it doesn't conceal. I don't understand. Now we're going to understand this with an example of the soul. This is chassidic, this is pure chassidic. Look at yourself, look at your soul, and then you're going to understand God. We see in this relationship between the giver and the taker, whatever, the giver and receiver, the teacher and the student. When the student is really far in knowledge, and like really, really far from the teacher, like a real, very wise person, that he has to teach something to somebody else that is really small in comparison, intellectually speaking, really small. It's not in the same realm, so to speak, completely another realm of knowledge. So he has to teach him. It's necessary that the teacher contracts and conceals the essence of his intellect and his knowledge, his wisdom, whatever, that he has in this particular thing that he wants to teach. It's necessary that he conceals it, because otherwise the mekabel, the receiver, is not going to be able to understand it. The teacher has to reveal only what is within the realm and the level of the receiver to understand. If you go to small children, don't start teaching complex algebra. It's impossible. They don't get it. So don't talk about it. If the teacher is going to reveal the deepness and the how do you say? Roichav means really ample and great knowledge and wisdom that he has in this particular thing, as the teacher really gets it in his own mind, is balbel chushi hamekabel. The senses of the receptor, of the receiver, are going to be confounded. It's going to be I didn't get anything. He's not going to get any of it. Nothing. Not even the parts that he could understand. He's not getting anything. It's necessary that the teacher contracts and conceals the deepness and the greatness of his wisdom on this. And he only reveals a reflection, an external reflection from the thing that he really gets, in summary, in real short summary, according to the level of the receiver. We have Gamzois, and even this particular idea that is teaching in such a small way, Malbishu Mailim Mashal. He invests and clothes, so to speak, his idea in an example. So the Rebbe is going to start right now with mashal, nimshal. In Hebrew, mashal means example, nimshal means thing being exemplified. And the Rebbe is going to talk about this a lot. The example is something completely external, foreigneous, different, strange to the nimshal, to the thing being exemplified. And it really conceals and hides the intellect, just like a piece of cloth, that it conceals the thing that is being clothed. The clothes, the garments are really separated from the thing that they are concealing. Like you can wear one thing or wear something else and it conceals your body and it's not part of your body. You're not your garments. The same thing happens with an example. It's something completely strange and separated from the thing being exemplified. And it covers the thing being exemplified. That's the nature of an example, of what a mashal means, what an example means. An example means we're not talking about the same thing we're really talking about. No, something else. But through that something else that is being covered by the example, then you will be able to understand the thing being explained. That's what the Rebbe says now. However, through this example that is something strange, separated, etc., from the thing being exemplified, it was Bnei. Then you will be able to understand this thing being exemplified. And you will get it. You get it and understand it. Why? Parenthesis. Because the example should be a very good example for that particular thing. Just like the garments. They are according to the person wearing the garments. Imagine you put the garments 10 sizes bigger than yours or 10 sizes smaller than yours. You're not really dressed. It's like weird. What are you dressing today? Wow, this is not for you. So, no. And the example is close to this idea. That's why through an example you will catch and you will understand the thing being exemplified. And the Rebbe here makes a point in these two words. Itfois veyavin. Tfisa means you get it. Do you really understand everything? No, I just got it. I got the idea. I have to think about it. That's tfisa. Yovin is Havana, you really get it. You understand the details. It's like Chochmah and Bnei. It doesn't really matter all the details, but the point is that through an example, even if you don't understand all the details of the concept, but at least you get it. You get something. And when you really go deep into the example, then you're going to understand it, not just get it. Two different things. This is what our sages say. A person, a teacher, should always teach his student in a short way. As short as you can. That means don't reveal, the teacher should not reveal the deepness and the greatness, so to speak, of the thing as it is in his mind. Because that's not possible for the receiver to get it and to understand it. The teacher has to find the short way, that all the internals, so to speak, of the idea should not be revealed to the student. That means the deepness, the longitude and latitude, so to speak, long and highest of the idea should not be revealed to the student. Only what's according to the level of the receiver. And even what you reveal, you have to reveal it in short ideas, short phrases, short paragraphs, whatever, in order for the receiver to get it and understand it. Mikol Makim, however, over here, I don't know, the Rebbe brought 3 ideas. I think it's interesting to mention it, even though the Rebbe didn't go so deep into it. 3 ideas. Oimek, Oirech, V'roichav. It's 3 dimensions of it. Every concept has 3 parts, not parts, dimensions. You can get the easiest way to understand this like a letter Hey. A letter Hey has a little thing, this horizontal thing, vertical thing, and then the little yud inside the Hey. So you get, for instance, if you want to build a house, okay? So first of all, you have to understand the oirech, I don't know how long this concept is. Because within a house, there are many, many, many things that have to be taken care of. The place we're going to build the house, the rooms of the house, the different parts, so to speak, of the house. This is like points. This is called oirech. Roichav. Let's call it roichav. How, I don't know, when you get long, tall and long, I don't know how to say it in English exactly, I'm sorry. But you get either high or like wide. So let's call it the wideness of the concept. How many concepts you have in each part, in the house. How many parts you have in the house. And then you get the oirech. What do I mean the oirech? Each part of the house has details, good, but each detail in itself has lots of details. So you tell me the rooms of the house. Let's talk about the rooms of the house. Okay, the rooms of the house. I want the house with 5 rooms. Okay, very nice, 5 rooms. Okay, wait a second. Let's take one room. Which color of the wall, and the ceiling, and the roof, and the floor, and the walls, and the blah blah. You can talk so much about each different part of the house. So you get parts of the house and the details of each part of the house. And then you move on to the next part of the house. Let's talk about the details of the next part of the house. And then you move on to the next part of the, let's talk about the details of the next part of the house, and so on. And then you have the deepness. Who is going to live in this house? And what is he going to do in this house? Because maybe the architect who actually learns about these things can have some idea that can help you feel comfortable in this house. Like, I need, I don't know, I'm just making up ideas. I want to play music in this house, so I need a room to play music. Okay, wait a second. Your group of music, how many people play in the group of music? 200. Okay, so you're going to need a big room, really big one, to hold 200 people. It's not just you playing the guitar. It's like 200 people over here. You need a big room, And the noise of the room, and don't make noise on the rest of the house. Okay, so you can go in the deepness of what's the house for? Not just the house. Yeah, windows and rooms and... No. Tell me like something deeper in the house. What's going on in this house? Okay, that's the 3 ideas. Oimek is like the deepness of there's an architect, famous architect, that he has a house in La Plata. I think it's the only one in South America, Le Corbusier. He was from France. He's a famous architect, whatever. And there's a house in La Plata, where I lived 20 years, of Le Corbusier. And this guy, I don't know, architect, whatever, I don't know, it's not my field, but whatever, this house, this guy thought the house according to the people that would live in the house. And he used to measure the people to put the rooms exactly on the measure that was more precise for this particular person. So somebody else living in the house wouldn't feel comfortable. But you are going to feel great in this house. That's how he thought the spaces and the places, etc., etc. Okay, so that's oimek. That's the deepness of each thing. And then you have the details of a house and the details of the details, etc., etc. Oirach v'roichav. Okay. If the teacher is going to really teach all these things to the student, forget it. The students can't get it. It's too much. Mikol Makim, however, what our sages bring, the idea that the teacher has to teach in a short way. The idea is not here that the truth, so to speak, and the essence of the idea should not be here. No. One thing is a summary. The summary should catch the essence of what we're trying to convey. Don't bring other things. Yeah, let's learn Hasidus. Yesterday there was a soccer game. What? Hasidus? No, because Bederach Tzara. I'm just going to tell you, he made one goal and the other one said, no, you're not teaching the thing. You're talking about something else. If you're going to talk about something else, you're not making a summary, a short, you're teaching something else. That's not the point. The idea of our sages is, of course, that this particular idea, you teach it in a summary, in a short way. This is the most important line for the rest of the Maimer, so to speak, the explanation that Rebbe wants to bring. In a hidden way, when the teacher teaches, it is found in the words that the teacher says, the deepness of the idea and the deepness of the wisdom of the teacher on that thing. The student doesn't see it, but the teacher does see it. This is what a tzimtzum is called, actually. Ella, rather, shebehelem legamre. It's completely concealed in the things, and if you're precise with the words, you're going to see the deepness of the ideas. But you have to be very precise. And the student, when receives the ideas, he's not so precise, he doesn't get it. So just memorize what I told you. Okay, so the student memorizes. But when the student really starts thinking about it, he's going to find amazing deepness in the words that the teacher said. But the student doesn't see it right away. Okay, I'm sorry, these two words go with the previous line. So it is hidden, the ideas and the deepness of the idea is hidden in the words and the preciseness of the words of the Torah. In those words, in those letters, is concealed the innermost and the essence of the ideas that the teacher is saying. Just like the Mishnah, a book of Torah, oral Torah, one of the first, that Rabbeinu Kadosh, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi is called Rabbeinu Kadosh, our saint, Rebbe, whatever, he taught us the Mishnah. The Mishnah, which is very, very few words, it's the summary of all the long derivations and derivatives and long discussions and the deepness, again, oirech v'roichav, and the how long and how wide, etc. This concept was by them. That deepness, Shana Lanu Rabbeinu, Kol Zeh, Rabbeinu HaKadosh B'Lashon HaMishnah. Bekitzur Nimratz. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi taught all of this in very short words, in order for us to understand it, in order for us to be able to catch it. He taught us in a very short way. But the truth is, in these short words, few words of the Mishnah, you have all the deepness, all the long and the wide, the whatever, tall and wide, the innermost and the essence of their wisdom. It's there. When you read it the first time, you don't get it. Okay, but it's there. Just like you say in the Talmud, the Gemara, it's explained afterwards, the details of why the Mishnah chose this particular word. Why did the Rabbeinu Kadosh choose this word and not the other one? Because this word means this and this, etc. The deepness and the longness and whatever, and the wideness of the concept. But if you get the Mishnah, just the Mishnah, it's all concealed over there. But it's there. But it's concealed.